This is part two. It's going to be 3 parts. So basically, the previous was part one. But, okay, so what is a woman bringing to the table without children and sex? What are women's credentials in a relationship? If not for sex, would you want her? Let's look at it this way. I really want to say it this way. Whose behavior would have to change more if there was no sex in the world and no possibility of conceiving children? Whose behavior would have to change more? Men or women? Let us not neglect the spiritual bonding nature of sex. In this day of age, there are many women who have voiced the concern that men have focused too heavily on sex. These women wish that men would value women for women's mind. These women feel like sex in a relationship should take a back seat to communication, to going on dates, to a man providing for her, and sex should be third or fourth or fifth on the list of important things in a relationship. These women believe that a relationship should be stronger than sex, and that sex should not be a priority. These women play with refraining or canceling sex from men in relationships. These women tease men with kisses, but no sex. If a man mentions or pursues sex, these women chastise the man, and these women say that that man is thinking perverted. These women like to determine when to give sex to a man. She rations her pussy and does not initiate sex. When a woman feels she has nothing left to offer you, she turns to sex. When a woman feels mentally superior to you, she takes away sex or tries to use it as a power to tame and use against you. Why is the thought process with women always based on how to ration out pussy and draw men away from sex? Show us other qualities with your mind and social skills. And that's like a Trump, like how he really enunciates something. Show us other qualities with your mind and social skills and take us on new experiences that will build a stronger, fulfilling relationship along with sex, not without sex. The thought to limit sex is never going to strengthen a relationship with a man. All women are headed to a selfish, failed relationship the moment they determine to use sex as a weapon. A relationship without sex can have value, but that relationship will never reach levels of pure intimacy and the expression of emotions as a relationship with sex. A woman would not want a man to take away humor or take away loyalty. Those things make up a relationship too. You can't take away the substance of who we are. Sex is who we are. Take away sex and the woman is lost. And take away sex and the man is lost physically, mentally, and biologically. Obviously, our entire existence would cease to be without sex. Thus, the nature and relevance of importance of its role is in our being. Again, take away sex and the woman is lost. And take away sex and the man is lost physically, mentally, and biologically. Our entire existence would cease to be without sex. Thus, the nature and relevance of importance of its role is in our being. However, for the sake of logic and conversation, let's entertain whose behavior would have to change more if there was no sex in the world and no possibility of conceiving children. Whose behavior would have to change more? Men or women? Let's play into the argument of these women believing a relationship should be stronger than sex and that sex should not be a priority. These women like to determine when to give sex to a man. The man waits on the woman to determine when he will have sex or if he will have sex. This is the generation or a section of the female population that teaches and practices this philosophy. These women want to withhold sex from men. These women want a man to perform. These women want a man to entertain a woman. These women want a man to build, work, provide, communicate, and dedicate a life to a woman without sex. These women will give the man sex, but the woman wants the man to understand the relationship is more than sex. These women teach the man this belief and philosophy. These women feel empowered when they control the administering of the sex. If a man has an argument with a woman, the man will not receive sex. If the man does not buy the woman a dress that the woman desires, the man will not receive sex. If the man does not watch a television program the woman wants to watch, then this man will not receive sex. If the man does not comply to her every whim and please her, then he will not have sex. Sex for the woman becomes a tool used to control the man. This woman's philosophy is grounded in the belief that a relationship is more than sex. This is the rebuttal. Let's play out the woman's philosophy first. Let's show that this woman's philosophy is something that she preaches, teaches, and practices, but actually she does not want this to manifest. She truly wants the man to resist. She does not truly want the man to comply. The power and entertainment the woman receives is from the resistance of the man. That lets her know it's working. Let's show her imagine that all men complied with this women's philosophy, or this woman's philosophy. To illustrate a point, let's imagine this existence. Let's imagine there was no sex. Let's imagine men and women in this world existing together with no possibility of sex and no children. Men no longer see women as childbearers. Men have been sterile for so long that men no longer see women as someone to be a mother to their child, or more so. Men do not see women as mothers at all, since no one on earth has had a mother or father that raised them. Don't ask me how people are continuing to exist, but this is the scenario. Deal with it. Men and women are here, and there are no children being born. If you're of the Abrahamic faiths, then you believe this is the existence angels have to an extent. So now, this is on earth, with women and men here without sex or children. I've already lost about 98% of whatever women were tuning in, because this is philosophy and fantasy that they don't like to entertain, even if I wasn't talking about sex and women. Although I'm dealing directly right now with women's philosophy and existence if you subtract sex from the relationship. Now let's dive into the conversation. Who have you had your most stimulating conversations with? Men? Well, consider the source. Of course, you'd say this because you primarily talk to other men. But women confirm that their most intriguing conversations also are derived with men. Who has built the majority of constructions in the world? Men. Probably because women weren't able to go to school and men were oppressing them for so long. But that's not the point that I'm making right now. Who is inventing new technologies? Men. Who usually introduces conversation? Men. When a man and a woman meet, who is the one pursuing? Men. In every society, this is the culture and trend. The man has to think of conversation to entertain the woman. The man has to think of places to go with a woman. The man has to learn of things that the woman likes. Subscribe, like, do not like, reply, likes, Instagram, TikTok. Likes mean a lot. Let's look at a rising trend. I'm not speaking of all women. I need to make a point here. I'm not trying to be condescending. These statements do not apply to all women. This analysis has to be illustrated with a focus. This focus disregards other women that do not fit this category. I illustrate this analysis with a focus on the women and the trend in Western culture that teaches this new philosophy to use sex as a weapon, or the philosophy adhered to by women that try to lessen the significance of sex in a relationship. Again, the man introduces himself to the woman. The man must find a job to support the woman. The man must buy the woman things. The man must think of stimulating conversation to attract the woman. The man must prove he can protect the woman. Reciprocation? What does this woman that abides by the rationing pussy philosophy do? This woman ignores the man. This woman scoffs at the man. Scoffs. This woman rolls her eyes at the man. This woman points a finger at the man and laughs at the man. This woman says the man is harassing her. These women sit and judge a man. She reverts to criticism, and she is the judge to determine if she likes the man's presentation, because she wants you to perform. If the man says one thing wrong, then he's severed from communicating with her. A man must perform and predict how to attract a specific woman. That's how we feel. I think of watching movies that, show kings and queens from a long time ago sitting on their throne, and while the jester or comedian is sitting there juggling, bowls or bowling pins or those things with fire on them or whatever, while he's telling jokes to seek the queen's approval. If she disapproves, then he's sent to the lions. Men have become an alternate form of entertainment to women. Men are television channels to women. Women turn the channel on various men daily. Today, the woman wants a comedian. Tomorrow, the same woman wants an athletic hero. Yesterday, this woman wanted Romeo and romance. Each day, this woman wants something different. Each day, the man has to guess. However, the peculiar thing is this woman wants every attribute and every need fulfilled from every television channel to be inside of only one man. Have you ever seen a movie that inside of one movie was the greatest comedy and the greatest horror movie and the greatest love story and the greatest action story and the greatest science fiction musical cartoon all at the same time? Nah, it don't exist. You have to feel like men are TV channels now for women's entertainment. That's how we feel. Women are addicted to social media and get enough satisfaction from a multitude of compliments, affirming their social status and beauty, that they no longer invest in the actual things that a relationship needs to exist, like developing ways to socialize mutually. The woman no longer nurtures a relationship with men. The woman no longer seeks to look to another man's needs beyond sex. The woman looks inward to satisfy all her needs and looks outward to everyone else to serve her or entertain her. She views herself as a celebrity, regardless of actually having any money. Her worth is validated in status, likes, and appearance. There are over 4 billion women, or close to it, in the world. Each woman is different. However, a man must find a way to attract a woman. Let's consider the man as a good performer. He does everything. The woman can say that she has seen the routine before. It's the man who can do everything, but I've seen it before. She can admit the man's performance was excellent, but not different. The more attractive a woman is, the more performances she has seen. She loses interest to almost all men because no man stimulates her. She is numb to men. She is now attracted to other women. That's another discussion that I will not elaborate on. I can exaggerate to elaborate or exhaust this point. A woman wants this. A woman wants a man to be funny like Dave Chappelle, charismatic like Obama, tall like Kobe Bryant, thuggish like Tupac, religious like Creflo Dollar, sensitive to their every need like Prince, Romeo Santos, or Babyface, dance like Chris Brown, rich like a Jay-Z, and introduce conversations that stimulate their feelings like Oprah. Here is the irony. A man capable of doing all this still cannot satisfy the woman. All the formerly mentioned men have had divorces, minus 1 or 2. This woman is bored with men. However, she never performs. You can only truly learn to appreciate the performance of an entertainer when you understand the craft. If you have never played an instrument and do not know the difficulty of what a specific musician is doing technically, then there is a level of appreciation you cannot have for that performer. This woman never initiates conversation. This woman never endures rejection after rejection. This woman does not know what it is like to make someone that has no interest in you learn to love you. This woman does not know how to emotionally perform against the odds of someone that wants to reject them. Women know about this in the workforce, but not from the dating or courting part of the relationship. This woman does not possess the quality or interest to produce the very quality that she is demanding from a man. So, without sex, what interest would a man find in this woman? She adds nothing to the man physically or socially. A man has a better time with other men socially that reciprocate the social norms. Let's consider if her behavior is normal. Let's consider if the behavior that a woman is behaving in society today is actually normal human behavior. Could a woman act this way with other women? Could a woman ignore all other women that talk to her? Could a woman always roll her eyes and point the finger at other women and gossip? Yeah, this is the existence of many women. This is the reason many women are not friends with other women. This mode or manner of communication is antisocial and pompous. Nobody likes this behavior. Men and women do not like anyone that is self-centered. Nobody wants to entertain another person without the other person participating in mutual social interactions that require both people to think of conversations and things to do. However, many women are now selfish. Many women feel entitled. Many women want all the attention. Many women want men to be servants. Women treat men like servants and want to ask, "Where is my king?" Many women want men to serve them. Again, these women do not add any positives to a man's spirit or life. So this behavior that is growing within women is abnormal. This behavior is similar. It's going to give me trouble saying this maybe, but I'll deal with it. This behavior is similar to a child. A child wants all the attention. A child thinks selfishly. A child cries or leaves a situation that is not immediately profiting or serving their sense of self-gratification. We are living in an attention deficit disordered society where people want constant stimulation. That's not normal. We're supposed to be boring. We're supposed to gather material for socializing by sometimes not having anything to talk about. Those are the moments that we're observing our surroundings and situations so that we can have something to talk about eventually. Like a comedian. A stand-up comedian isn't always funny. They have to observe situations for a couple of years and write things down and go to the clubs and see what works and what doesn't work. They have to observe. We're not built to be amazed every day. That first high or that first drink or that first kiss will never be the same as it was. We hear authenticity, but yet you want to subscribe to a performance from an entertainer that is rehearsed and fabricated, women. We hear you. I'm not even addressing a woman getting half of a man's earnings in divorces. Huh? What? Who? What does that have to do with anything? So let's return back to the world without sex or child conceiving. Who would want to talk to a woman that carries the attitude of not doing anything to reciprocate or initiate thoughtful conversations? Who wants to talk to a woman that never tries to get you to share new experiences or go places to do new things? We are back to the woman that is the critic, that sits and waits for you to entertain her. We are back to the woman that tells you everything you do wrong and rejects you, while she does nothing socially to connect with you. What is this woman socially or physically or intellectually or emotionally adding to the world of humankind that attracts others to want to engage in an exclusive relationship of monogamy without sex? This is the question. The message being said here is that the contributions that women practice in a relationship are inferior to the contributions men are offering. The message being said here is that the contributions that women practice in a relationship are inferior to the contributions men are offering. In 2022, these types of women are severely lacking in what they bring to a social relationship in comparison to what a man is offering and bringing. If a woman wants a man to see outside of the sex, then what are we to see from her? What is she presenting to us that attracts us outside of sex? Outside of sex, what is she showing us? What are we seeing? We're seeing someone overly concerned about their appearance. We're seeing someone that cannot be satisfied in life by anything. We're seeing someone that is quick to be angered and retaliate. We're seeing someone that demands we give them an abundant amount of attention while they give us nothing. We are seeing someone that wants the best gifts while giving us the cheapest gifts. We see someone that wants us to protect them, yet also attacks us. We're seeing someone that demands we serve them while they put us down. Men overlook the social deficiencies of this modern Western woman due to our chemical attraction to procreate. We ignore the cruel treatment that we endure from women. What is the cruel treatment? The cruel treatment includes the constant arguments, the entitlement of expecting a man to worship you and cater to your needs without the woman mentally stimulating the man. Reciprocation socially and intellectually is deficient in the modern Western woman. I said in this world, there are no children. But let me make a point when speaking about the Western woman. Many times, when I was talking about this world, that's this made-up world that I talked about. In this world, that there's no children that exist. You know, we're talking about a world without sex. And so, but let me make a point, like I said earlier, speaking about the Western woman. Many times her self-conceit and selfishness are exacerbated and yet uniquely cloaked behind the birth of a child. Now, this woman finds her ability to take advantage of situations is easier if she uses the child as an excuse. She says, we need more money for the child. The man has to work more. She says, you always work. You are never home with the child and me. Now the man has to take her on vacation. The man has to go on a date, to go on a restaurant, to a restaurant with her. He tries. She says, I'm tired. I've been taking care of the child all day. The man asks for sex. She says, no. The child can hear us having sex. No. I'm tired because of the child. The woman physically loses her physique and appearance. She says, before the child, I was sexy. The child is now the weapon against the man and has now taken the place of what she used to use as sex, when she used sex as a weapon. How ironic that the very thing that comes from the sex she wanted to ration for power is now the very baby manifested and used as a weapon against you, again, as a device to control you with. Poetic justice? Holla if you hear me. Pac and Janet. Let's return to sex and the inability to conceive a child in this fantasy world. We're in a world where there is no sex, and women still do nothing to initiate socializing with men in a manner that appeals to one's intellect or interests. Women still want men to approach them. Women still critique men for every minute thing we do. Women still want all the attention without putting in any effort to gain attention outside of physical beauty. This is the message. Nobody wants to be with another person that acts in this manner. This manner is selfish. This manner is conceited. This manner is self-entitlement. So, without sex, I can't conceive of a monogamous relationship between a man and a woman that functions positively in this manner. For the two to coexist in a mutual social manner, I believe that a man can continue in the manner of socializing that we currently exhibit. I believe that the woman would have to change. A woman would have to be nicer. A woman would have to think of conversation to stimulate other women and men. A woman would have to learn to entertain men or learn how to appeal to people's thoughts in order to be heard and accepted. A woman would have to prove her social and intellectual value without being condescending or judgmental. I do not think that a man would have to change anything in that world. I think that if a woman did not change in that world, then this would happen. Men would leave women. Men would not socialize with women. Women would follow men. Women would be forced by loneliness to try to create some form of action or social value that could attract other women and men. Why? Women would have to do this or risk being isolated and alone, which is the common and normal response that people give to others that act in the manner women have been acting. Women would have to engage in changing their social behavior because the current form of the modern day Western woman's social behavior would not be tolerated by other men or women. Women that want to continue engaging in self-conceit, entitlement, and ignoring others. Is self-conceit a word? Women that want to engage in entitlement and ignoring others socially, they'd be alone the way they should be. The only reason these women are not alone today is because of sex. Okay, let's consider a relationship. A man and a woman are in a relationship. This woman does not think of mentally engaging or stimulating conversation. A woman usually asks a man a question with the intent to judge him or accuse the man of something. A man thinks of conversation to have with a woman that is non-offending and open to comments without any judgment or ulterior motive. That's what men do. So let's consider a world without sex or the need of children. Excuse me. Now, outside of men, what does a woman bring to the world? As a human outside of any male comparisons, what does a woman bring or offer to the world? Can a man answer that? Well, outside of companionship, what are things women bring to the world constantly? I can think of the fact that she brings life into the world. She brings nurturing. She brings music, food, dance, art, and an alternative. She can bring love. What is the incentive a man has to be with a woman in a monogamous relationship without sex? A woman would only exist as a friend. A man would only exist as a friend. What difference would a man see in a woman compared to another man? That doesn't sound right. The way I was trying to say it is, what is the incentive a man has to be with a woman in a monogamous relationship without sex? A woman would only exist as a friend. A man would only exist as a friend. What difference would a man see in a woman compared to another man if it wasn't for sex? The intimacy of expressing emotions is only sacred due to sex. A woman provides a man the opportunity to release emotions. A woman invigorates the nature of man to protect and feel important. A woman fills the void in the man. Outside of sex, the biggest thing a woman provides for a man is spiritual intimacy. A woman gives the man an emotional confidence and supplies him a partner to build together with the man, being able to be recognized as the leader of the relationship. A woman gives the man an audience to console him affectionately and adorn him. A woman brings the ability for two people to unite emotionally and affectionately together to share and support psychological needs. A woman adds stability to a man, and she calms the man from the desire to constantly compete against other men. A woman allows a man to escape his ego. However, when a woman does none of the things formerly mentioned, then there is nothing a man can value in a woman in a world without sex. What drives a man's emotions chemically? What drives a man's affection and desire to want to engage in affection with a woman? Sex. Sex is the reason men ignore the bad things women do. Sex is the reason men do not demand that a woman improve her social skills. Women already know this. This is no secret. Sex is the incentive to make a man do things for a woman that he would never do for another person. Sex is needed, and sex is of the supreme apex binding tie that brings men and women together. To reduce sex in any way or to detach sex is to sever the bond of man's incentive to value a woman. To detach sex from a relationship is to separate man from woman. To detach sex from a relationship would force women to change socially. Sex provides power and benefits for women that women want and women use. To exclude sex would put women in a position of inferiority socially and physically that would lead to their own isolation and demise for the reasons I explained earlier. Because nobody wants people with that type of behavior that they're currently exhibiting for the specific type of woman I'm referring to. So never diminish the value of sex. Women, it's for your own benefit. Or diminish and do what you feel like doing. You know, it's just a man's perspective. I can't tell you what to do. Or to who to sock it to. It's your thing. Do what you're going to do. So, you know, imagine a woman's position in the world if a man truly valued all women on nothing more than social ability and what she provided. A man would see no other reason to value her above another man. Which, that may be what women want. Wouldn't that be equality? A modern day Western woman would have to change her current social behavior to be accepted in a social society of that situation. Trevor Noah said what I've been stating for years, so I'm sure he was, listening to me. I know he has millions of followers, and I probably have, I love my subscribers. Hit that subscribe button if you will. It motivates me, to keep on bringing this. But anyway, Trevor Noah said what I've been stating for years, and I'm aware others have said it. So, remove sex from a relationship, and you will discover that over 90% of ladies have nothing to offer in relationships. Remove money from a relationship, and you will discover 90% of ladies won't see a reason to be in that relationship. Basically, Trevor Noah didn't say this, but basically, men only put up with this bullshit from women because we want to fuck. Take the sex away, and men will cuss women out and attack that growing trend of selfishness and acting entitled nature. Quick. Women would also do the same to other women that act that way. So, do women really want equality in a relationship? Do men really want equality in a relationship? No. These types of women want to be pampered, and they want control, and they do not want to have to contribute to a mutually based relationship where each contributes equally socially. There is a much more serious issue at hand that we are ignoring. That issue is that a lot of women believe they should be paid to have sex with you. In some form or fashion, it comes back to that. That form or fashion is you pay for her doctor visits or help her with her cell phone payment or pay for dinner, or somehow, some way, they believe you are supposed to pay for that pussy. And the man consistently struggles with the reality that if he's paying for pussy, This isn't a relationship. It's prostitution. The woman, on the other hand, has rationalized in her mind that it's not prostitution, that you're helping her financially, and that it's a form of showing you as a man are willing to take care of her, and that you can take care of her. And in her gratitude, she gives you a relationship, pussy, and affection. Or let's say sex and love. Sometimes I just like saying that word. So, this is not all women, but many women feel entitled to a man helping them financially and feel it is your responsibility and your obligation. This is the key factor that makes a man no longer view the woman as a person, but as a transaction. And in that transaction, he looks at the product, and in looking at the product, he looks at the body and disregards the mind because he is not being appealed to by her for his mind. The truest, most sincere form of a relationship is when neither person has to ask for anything or take anything from another, and they want to be together for each other's personalities and who they are to each other. However, the day has arrived, or perhaps it always existed, that certain women feel that men have to pay. The man understands, but cannot get over the fact that in his giving the woman his body and his time, that he is sharing something with her that she also wants and receives as a pleasure. But the man also understands when the woman takes his money, it is a one-way transaction of him getting robbed. Thus, in this type of relationship, which is probably the majority of dating relationships, the man is again not getting an even stake in the relationship. And he knows this. And the woman knows this. The man copes with this and wrestles with this, but deals with this. However, the insulting part is when he is not appreciated and he feels he has to approach, appeal, tend, seduce, initiate a woman's attention, and attend to her needs socially and financially so that he in return can get someone that does not reciprocate socially or attend to his needs. And in many cases, complains and gives him a bad attitude and the worst gifts for his birthday, Christmas, and Father's Day. The situation does not improve, and it escalates to the kids loving mom more than dad, and the woman making the man feel like nothing more than a wallet. These are the things men don't speak about. However, we suffer in our minds trying to cope with this reality. And thus, due to this, those of us who aren't assholes and those of us whose, these situations help to influence us to make bad decisions, we oftentimes do things that hurt an already fractured relationship. Those things might include withdrawing emotionally and socially from the woman, or not coming home until late, or taking trips out of town that ain't really necessary, going to bars, lying, volunteering for overtime at work, cheating, or arguing with everyone that crosses our path. Or, any hobby that can give us some amount of time that makes us feel worth something and like we matter because we feel neglected, unloved, and unappreciated. The current trend in Western women's social behavior is not conducive to any human relationship. The current trend growing in Western women's social behavior is not conducive to any human relationship. Nobody wants to entertain another person and be judged all the time. Nobody wants to work for someone else and give them all their money. Nobody wants to hear someone else complain all the time or talk only about themselves. Nobody wants to spend time with someone that demands that you do things for them without them ever showing reciprocation. Nobody wants to create things to talk about, movies to go to, restaurants to visit, while the other person is quiet and never contributes or initiates anything. Men are not stupid. Men are dealing with bullshit that women know is bullshit, and that woman would never take that from another woman. Yet, she expects for a man to be happy when a woman exerts this type of behavior onto a man. Men need to address this shit and stop. There needs to be a constitution that certain men and women agree to that states what each other's expectations are and what they swear or promise to honor. Everyone on this dating site or whatever form of believers in this constitution will be able to hold the other partner accountable for fulfilling or failing. There needs to be something we can agree on as men and women to reduce the disparity of what a man is currently in 2020 bringing to a monogamous relationship versus what a modern day Western woman is not bringing to a monogamous heterosexual relationship. Modern day problems call for modern day solutions. I mean, it would be crazy for, kids from the 1400s to learn from textbooks, and kids from 2020 they still be learning from textbooks, right? What the fuck? If the majority of a society now learns from videos and they're seeking to learn things on their cell phones and the internet or computers, then you would think a society would have to be upside down to still be teaching from textbooks instead of computers when the majority of people no longer carry books. Modern day problems call for modern day solutions. I want a website where men and women cannot show their weight, face, height, or race, and it's purely conversation. Let's see how far people get without vanity. That would be the name of the website. Let's see how much looks matter. So we go into what I'm proposing, that Constitution. When men and women of the United States need a conference or convention where 500 respected ugly and 500 attractive people meet for a day in one room to pick from a list of 1,000 various issues or desires or criteria that the sexes have listed as important. Cut that list down to 10 or 50 things that will constitute the declaration of what those who swear by it will abide by. Then we two people can then when two people meet, they can be like, hey, do you agree with the 50-50 list or not? No, I don't agree with it. Okay, I don't want to be with you then. What parts you agree with or what parts don't you agree with? Then we're going to have something tangible to hold the other accountable for in this modern day society. Everyone's expectations are different, and we need something to unite under that says we agree on this as men and women, or as women and men. Why is this needed? Because men are getting shitted on, and this trend is being normalized. Women don't want broken men, and men do not want to be broken by women. Women truly want no. Women truly don't want soft men that bow before women. However, women fight to break men. They try to turn men to obey them and be beneath them. But that is actually contrary to what they know in their fiber they want. This is why they want what they consider a bad boy or a rebel. They're attracted to men that are not afraid to stand their ground. They're attracted to men that call them out for their bullshit. They're attracted to men that show them that the man can lead. They're attracted to the man that is not soft and is physically intimidating. They're attracted to the man that is not seeking a woman's approval. Then they won't admit it, but some of them are also attracted to chauvinistic men and unapologetic men. With all that said, women try to turn men into something that they actually are not attracted to when they find ways to break men down. All right. Contrary to the tone of this presentation, we should invest both in lifting each other up. I'm speaking on behalf of those men that feel there is a shift of negativity and a social deficiency that is making substance-based communication with women difficult. Women have the power. How they choose to use it is their right. Choices have outcomes. Women throughout time in the majority of cultures have always had a significant amount of power, and they should have it. One of the powers that seems common is that often they are the heads of the household, regardless of having a husband or not. There are other powers that, they have also, but I want to mention this one in particular because it's relevant to what I'm speaking about. And that is the majority of women in the world have the power to pick the man they want to be with. And that choice is a lot of power because she decides who will be her partner. So if she chooses someone not good for her, then she has to accept part of the blame. Also, if the majority of women have divorces and speak about the men they chose, then what does that have to say about their decision making? This is dangerous territory to tread, because women don't want to hear this. And I get no respect or love from women for saying this. But here it is, and here I go, as here I be. Women have the power to influence the culture of men. If women decided to make the trend that only college graduates that make a certain amount of money and have a job in a house could father their children or be their spouse, then men would seek to achieve those things once they see only those types of men getting a certain quality of women. Now, in men's mind, many of us see this, regardless of if women see it as true or not. This is what we see. We see women sexually attracted to troublemakers. So some of us perpetrate that role to get women. That's right. There's a lot of fake bad boys getting women. There are also lazy bums thankful women can look at a man with nothing and find something. Some women can find a useless man with almost nothing to offer and develop an attraction to him due to his menacing look or a lack of respect for social etiquette. That turns her on. The definition of thugs and punks have changed over the years, but those are the terms that used to, define those types of men. The point remains that in the face of the history of women oppressed, the point remains that in the face of the history of women oppressed or not, they have always been in a position to be side by side with the man and over the children. So what does that say? That says that to a degree, they are raising men. That says to a degree, they're influencing men and are responsible, or at the least are enablers and shapers of developing men's behaviors. I repeat, that in the face of the history of women oppressed or not, they have always been in the position to be side by side with the man and over the children. That says they've been in a unique position that people who typically are enemies of someone are never in. I have to pause on that. You can't control someone. I believe that. However, you can choose who you want to be with. And you are with that person, sleeping with them, talking to them for all your life. Are you saying you have no influence or power in that situation? I understand it's bigger than one man. It's largely a society that oppresses women in this man's world. But I had to address it. But if it's a man's world, at what time did that balance shift? Has the woman not always been by man's side since day one? When did she lose power? Physical strength should not be enough to shift the balance of power throughout all time, especially if women think they're smarter than men. Were they not once on equal ground? Throughout all time, women have been side by side with men in every place in the world. So when women saw men going crazy, being oppressive, and starting the power shift, I'd like to know what women were doing. What was their recourse or retaliation? How and when did men decide to collectively position themselves over women? Was it done on purpose or coincidentally? And then all the men got together and they were like, hey, this shit worked out in our favor. Screw the women. Is that how it happened? With all this said, that's certainly going to ruin me with women in my female relationships. Please allow me to say that what all men have done to women, women have been in bed with the man doing it. And she chose that man. So what does that say about their decision making versus the man who looks for a woman that will allow him to make those decisions without her retaliating? Obviously, I think I got something on my lip. Basically, pull this in and speak positive to women and let them know to what extreme my empathy can go for them. I could say women have the right to kill all men. Based on the long history of abuse and mental, physical war and atrocities men have enacted on women, for all the problems men have with women, it is ultimately our doing and our making. So those circumstances we created that have influenced women to act in ways we don't like, we are ultimately at fault. I don't feel I'm that man responsible for that. But I am a man that has lived a life of privilege and benefited off the system built by men that benefits men. I'm not an enemy to women. I don't think so. I applaud their marches and their fights, and I wish them success, and thank you for your contributions to humanity. I just had to, speak on some taboo things going on right now that are affecting relationships for men and women. The things I say again do not apply to all modern day Western women. Again, please hear that former sentence again and say it or listen to it 100 more times. This does not apply to all women. This analysis was spoken to address a disturbing trend growing in the modern day Western woman that is contributing to unhealthy monogamous relationships. This analysis would be the same as if a woman wanted to write an analysis on the subjugation, oppression, and abuse that men have enacted on women since Adam and Eve. This wasn't spoken to demean women. I cannot include every aspect or perspective or introduce other topics, or else this thing will be endless, and I'm already on about an hour and a half talking, so I want to address that which I addressed effectively, the focus on a point in a disturbing, growing trend. There are more disturbing trends than this. There are more important disturbing trends than this going on in the world. And ultimately, if it needs to be said, again, men have been more destructive to women in relationships than women have been to men. Again, I'm only addressing one side to make a point to one disturbing issue currently growing. Part 3.